Hi, everyone. It's still July 23rd, 2021. Before I start with the, in-your-face tyranny that is taking over Western nations, let me start with this. A German TV news reporter suspended after video shows her smearing herself with mud in flood-hit town. They're actors, actresses, actors and actresses. Oh, let me just bend over and put a little mud on my forehead or whatever she's doing. But it'll make me look, well, the article says authentic. Maybe make her look like she was helping people. Okay. The news in virtually every country, but certainly Western countries, it's a farce. Play acting. You know, the fake news that they call independent journalists? No. You got that ass backwards. And just everything that you hear on mainstream media, just flip it around. Just, reverse what they're saying, and you'll probably get to the truth. Now, Australia, you're still leading the way. But you're also showing us what is to come for all of us. Chaos in South Australia after people made to quarantine in Medi hotels.
SA's Modbury cluster now stands at 15 cases, with only one new case recorded on Friday. Thousands have been ordered into mandatory quarantine, but many people deemed the highest risk say the communication is a mess.
It's just been an absolute, sort of circle of confusion around what's actually going on.
SA's two super spreader events were deemed so dangerous that on Thursday, 206 people were ordered into Medi hotels in a press conference.
If they're living in close contact with their families, do they go into the hotels as well?
Yes, absolutely.
But the next day, a different line.
No, look, we certainly didn't have a situation where all of the families and all of the people at the winery and all of their families could be moved in. We just wouldn't have that capacity there.
SA Health says about 100 people were moved after risk assessments took place. Many others were left confused. The family of a COVID-positive man in his 60s complained that he caught the virus after being ordered into the same Medi hotel room as his infected partner. SA Health says the man was presumed positive and showing symptoms prior to the move, which his family reportedly denies. The Premier vowed to learn from several days of extreme delays at testing clinics.
It's an extraordinarily difficult situation and people's frustration is perfectly justified.
With ADF staff now helping and opening hours at some clinics extended, the lines have become shorter.
It's not been too bad. We've been moving pretty constantly.
Been waiting for about an hour.
Joel Philp, Sky News, Adelaide.
Waiting for an hour? And the other one said, oh, it's not that bad. We're moving constantly. Okay, thousands quarantined? Wow. Well, you have such low numbers. That's why, from the start, it has really concerned me about Australia. You could have 15 cases and boom, national emergency. We've got to lock down. We've got to destroy businesses, keep kids out of school. You do now have a national emergency with tougher restrictions in Sydney.
Good evening. Sydney's COVID outbreak has moved from crisis to national emergency. Case numbers continue to climb, today reaching 136, and the Premier is running out of options. The so-called Ring of Steel around the Fairfield, Canterbury, Bankstown and Liverpool LGAs has been expanded to include Cumberland and Blacktown, with only essential workers allowed to leave the area. And the path out of lockdown requires everyone to get vaccinated. We begin our coverage with Chris O'Keefe.
A Sydney-made national emergency.
That's seen 4 weeks of lockdown improve nothing.
What we are not seeing is the turnaround that we would have liked to see at this stage.
136 new cases, 53 in the community, and the 6th death of this outbreak. A concession from the government, they do not have control of Delta.
The situation that exists now in New South Wales, namely around southwestern and now western Sydney suburbs, is regarded as a national emergency.
The Premier is putting more than a quarter of our city under effective house arrest.
We really, really want everybody to follow these orders to make sure, as I said, that we contain the virus within these local government areas.
If you live in the Blacktown and Cumberland Council areas, you're now forbidden to leave for work unless exempted.
Terrible. Where can you go? What can you do?
54 suburbs of the Blacktown local government area are now being prevented from going to work.
These heavy restrictions apply to 400,000 in the Blacktown LGA, around Mount Druitt, Marsden Park, Riverston, Quakers Hill, Prospect and Blacktown itself, while Cumberland LGA takes in the old Auburn and Holroyd councils, with Pemulwuy, Marylands, Guildford, Granville and Lidcombe. With the same rules applying in Canterbury, Bankstown, Liverpool and Fairfield, there are now around 1.5 million people largely prevented from leaving their home.
When it first started, they should have locked it down like they did with the Northern Beaches.
Looks like the way we're going up to Christmas is going to be very, very bad.
An admission lockdown will not end without an emergency vaccination effort, and the Premier is pleading for more Pfizer.
Both vaccines are working, but we need to get more of them into arms, even if it's the first jab, because we know that reduces transmission or it protects someone up to 30%.
Dr. Kerry Chant making her most direct appeal for everyone of any age to start getting AstraZeneca because
it's the Delta variant that is really spreading all over. You know, I looked for the video that I saw earlier, the health minister in Israel. All countries are now blaming the unvaccinated for the rise in cases. It is really pretty, I don't know, shocking or beyond comprehension that people haven't looked into what is happening, considering that people's lives are getting destroyed by these lockdowns. Cases means nothing. 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 Okay. Well, but the health minister in Israel was coming out strong, claiming that the unvaccinated, they were the ones who were keeping all Israelis locked in their homes. So, also came out with these restrictions that were so tight. Everybody unvaccinated needs to be tested, can't go to anything really if you're not vaccinated. That is coming here to the United States. Delta coronavirus variant. Scientists brace for impact. The rapid rise of the highly transmissible strain in the UK has put countries in Europe, North America, and Africa on watch. On watch. Ping-demic. UK has a ping-demic.
As workplaces swelter, key areas of the economy are at breaking point, with huge swathes of the population being forced into isolation by the NHS COVID Act. Creative Nature sells superfood snacks to a global market, and they're worried about the next few weeks.
I do feel this is quite hard on businesses in general, because how are they going to control it? How are we going to move forward with it? Is it just going to be constant? It's going to be a ping and then a week later another ping.
The pingdemic, as it's been called, is a double whammy for many sectors of the economy. Ports are now experiencing significant levels of staff absence, as high as 10% in some places. The knock-on for supply chains is enormous. And high street giants are also suffering, with some warning stores may have to close early.
Everybody, flags in the air!
It could turn into a long, hot, febrile summer. Frontline health workers will be exempt from self-isolation in exceptional circumstances. But many nurses are furious at the government's handling of this crisis.
Why are we not being protected as a workforce? Why are we not being protected to ensure patient safety? Why do we have to go to work and put others at risk willingly because our government is telling us to do it? I think it's absolutely abhorrent.
There is significant frustration amongst many businesses, struggling anyway to make ends meet. The calls to make the app less sensitive have been dismissed by the authorities. The problem the government has is balancing the opening of the economy, Freedom Day, with a pandemic that is still raging.
I can't. Oh my God, don't you just get to a point where it's like listening to these people, it just makes you sick? Okay, well, pingdemic, a pingdemic in the UK. It's creating a whole lot of supply chain disruptions. The shelves are empty in supermarkets. Pingdemic. Okay, please listen. Oh my God. British supermarkets said on Thursday that some products were in short supply and petrol stations had been forced to close after the official health an app told hundreds of thousands of workers to isolate following contact with someone with COVID-19. Ping, you've been pinged, isolate. Ping, you've been pinged, isolate. Okay, things are getting so clear that we are living just utter insanity. Cases rising to nearly 50,000 a day in the United Kingdom. Cases means nothing. Hundreds of thousands of people have been advised or pinged by their National Health Service to isolate for 10 days. Yeah. Yes. Sorry. For those who can't stand me saying, it is your fellow, well, in this case, American, your fellow citizen, whatever country you are living in, that is actually just bowing down, complying, obeying to a ping on your app, and now you have to isolate for 10 days, can't go to work. So what is this doing to all? How are you liking your Freedom Day? Freedom in the UK. Freedom Day was the 19th. Also on Freedom Day, it was announced vaccine passports. Oh, freedom. And now, if you get pinged, you've got to isolate for 10 days. Wow. They sure do have an awful lot of methods, roads to take, avenues to travel, to destroy you. A ping, a case, and a destroyed life. Scotland.
But as I said a moment ago, case numbers, though they are definitely falling, do remain higher than we should be comfortable with.
COVID, as we know, is highly infectious. Indeed, Delta is significantly more transmissible than previous variants of the virus. And although vaccination is weakening the link between COVID cases and serious illness, the virus is still potentially dangerous. And of course, long COVID is affecting many, including those in younger age groups. All of this means that vigilance and care remain really important. Restrictions were eased yesterday as part of a gradual process, but restrictions were not abandoned yesterday. Important measures and mitigations do remain in place, and we continue to ask people across the country, and I do so again today, to treat the threat that COVID poses seriously at this stage. Now,
are you scared? Scots, are you scared? Okay, well, Australia, New Zealand travel bubble, your bubble, paused amid Delta fears. Now, how many adults in all of these countries have questioned any of this? Couldn't they just say, oop, there's a Delta variant, and boom, lock you down again? Do people not know that there are very few, I'd say it's rare, that you actually have healthy politicians? The majority want control and want power. And once they get it over your life, they don't want to give it up. How many people do you think understand that? Australia's lockdowns, a laughing stock around the world? I'm not laughing. I feel bad for you, but I also know that it's coming here very soon.
Welcome back. You're watching Credlin. As we go to air, more than 13 million residents of Greater Sydney, 13 million residents right across Australia, including Greater Sydney, Victoria and South Australia, remain locked in their homes, and now a national emergency has been called by New South Wales. Is our fractured federation up to the task? To discuss this and a whole lot more, I'm joined by Friday panel social commentator Prue McSween and the host of Outsiders, Rowan Dean. G'day there.
Okay. You're not a laughing stock. Yeah, it's so... I vacillate between just feeling incredibly sad. The condition of the two-legged walking the planet is just atrocious. You know, most people have these raging issues unresolved. They fling them about. They can't even think straight. They can't, you know, the idea of thinking for oneself, that also kind of comes hand in hand with maturity. And a whole lot of adults all over the world are just not there. So they actually look to these people, these politicians, not these people, but also these, you know, the news reporter, for guidance. You know, they look to the politician as if they're mommy and daddy. Please tell me what to do. Yeah, it's the insanity is frightening. This is actually a pretty good commentary. I've never seen this guy. But Australia more divided than ever, courtesy of COVID hysteria?
The past year has certainly shown all of us just how quickly our nation can fall into ruin. We're being manipulated, aren't we? Or are we? I don't know. And that's the problem. I wished I could confidently say to you that everything up is up and everything down is down. We're being deliberately confused. Or is it just simply the ineptitude of those who are doing all of the yakking at that political and medical level? Either way, we seem to have schisms now emerging throughout our nation. Australia is incredibly divided tonight, more than ever before. Last year, we were united as a country. We were wanting to do our bit to stop this bug. I don't even want to really mention the name. We were sacrificing family time. We were delaying business plans or coming up with new ones. We were putting off work commitments, delaying that personal and professional travel, the things that we normally would do. You know, the days when you used to be able to say, I'll see you in London in 30 hours, hop on a plane and go there, or come back from the west coast of America and drop into your local corner store on the way home. All of this has changed, and we did it because we trusted politicians. We trusted.
That was stupid.
These health officers, these people who we didn't even know probably existed until about 18 months ago, because they suddenly popped up. They looked really, really important, and they had very important titles like Chief Health Officer and Chief Medical Officer, Cho and Schmo. But anyway, whatever they said, we did. Apparently we needed time to work this virus out, to get our hospitals and health system geared up. I mean, we even signed off, we, the people of Australia, even signed off on politicians allowing decisions to consign the next couple of generations to big debt to offset the impacts on the lifestyles that we'd become enormously used to. The job sleeper allowances, as I call them, but the job keeper and the job seeker allowances made a big difference, brought some dignity into the difficulty. But 18 months on, we've seen now, over a period of time, multiple mixed messages, inconsistent decisions, statements, demands. And I don't know about you, but so many people I meet, very few people seem to trust at all these hyped up and this hysterical stuff that seems to be coming from the pollies, from these health boffins now. Many people tonight fear that they really just don't even know. These people telling us every night, every day, morning, it's like a soap opera. They don't really seem to know. Are they making stuff up as they go along? You know, I'm waiting, I think we all are waiting for a plan that actually talks about the way in which we get our country back. We recover our economic, our social progress. We need hope. We also need a restoration of trust. It's been said by far wiser people than me that the foundation of trust is integrity. We need leaders we can trust to tell us the truth. And just like in A Few Good Men and Jack Nicholson's great monologue in that movie, you know, we actually can handle the truth. I thought we were pretty good a year and a bit.
All right. See, the problem was, in the very beginning, everybody obeying. 18 months later, do you think that these people are going to let go of their power over you? Now, there's also something behind all of this. The world is being taken over by very psychopathic, elitist technocrats. It's the Great Reset. The fourth, what is it called? The fourth industrial turning or something. But we are literally, purposefully being destroyed. So, the elite want everybody to be impoverished so that you are slaves to them. As crazy and outrageous as that sounds, look into it. There's an awful lot of evidence. Good thing about this internet, while we have it, perhaps one might want to use it to increase their knowledge about what is taking place in the world. What an idea. Australia MP says unvaccinated people need to be controlled and restricted. They're coming out saying this in all countries now. The bubble bursts. New Zealand suspends quarantine-free travel from Australia. This is just going to go on forever. And if it's not a Delta variant that is so much more contagious than the original coronavirus, then it'll be another variant. And it just goes on and on. Oh my God, a superbug outbreak. What?
Now to that CDC warning of an outbreak of a superbug fungus attacking people here in D.C. and in Texas. And to make it worse, the fungus is tough to treat. We get more on this from CBS's Omar Villafranca.
Tonight, the CDC is keeping tabs on more cases of a drug-resistant fungus that is spread in healthcare settings. It's called Candida auris. 2 new clusters of the superbug were reported by the CDC. 22 cases were in 2 Dallas area hospitals, leaving 2 people dead. 101 cases were reported at a Washington, D.C. area nursing home, killing 1 person. Dr. Floyd Wormley of Texas Christian University has studied the fungus and those most at risk.
So if you're in a hospital, you have a severely weakened immune system, and you are undergoing certain treatments or therapies in which this organism can gain access into your body, then it can cause issues.
The CDC's Dr. Megan Lyman says patients being treated for COVID are vulnerable.
There's a lot of patients that had COVID who acquired Candida auris, and in general, Candida auris is more likely among patients who are at long-term care facilities, who are chronically very sick, have invasive devices like tracheostomies, or are on a ventilator.
Researchers have found that the fungus can not only be contracted from surfaces, but can also be spread person to person, which is what appears to have happened in these recent cases.
Wow. So, a superbug that can be transmitted person to person. Not good.
You're in a situation now where a lot of the folks who are not taking it, it's accessible to everyone. They have different reasons for why they don't take it, and I think that the more they're hectored by government officials or some of these folks, that is not going to get them to yes. I can tell you that right now. I think these are folks that have skepticism of authorities. I think they have different reasons why they may not do it. I don't think most of them think COVID is a hoax or anything. I think that they understand. Some of them are very young and healthy, and they're making the calculation that they'll likely be able to handle it, and I understand that too. But as you're trying to reach some of these folks, I think it's important to just be honest with them about the risks of COVID. If they are in a less risky category, you should just be honest with that and not try to scare people into taking it, which a lot of these authorities have done. They see that, and I think that they're very keen on that. So what my view has always been is these vaccines, and you can look at the EUAs, there are occasionally some side effects. But if you're 70 years old, man, the benefit is so much better than...
Okay. DeSantis. Republican politicians are now coming out in force, telling their constituents to get vaccinated. Now, that was a lighter form, but he still encourages people to get vaccinated. Listen to this governor in Alabama, Republican.
Folks supposed to have common sense. But it's time to start blaming the unvaccinated folks, not the regular folks. It's the unvaccinated folks that are letting us down. These folks are choosing a horrible lifestyle of self-inflicted pain. You know, we've got to get folks to take the shot. It's their job to take care of themselves and us as well. We can't do that for them. All we can do is everybody take the shot themselves. So encourage others to do likewise.
Republican and many in Washington, D.C. came out and said, get vaccinated, get vaccinated. Okay. How dare she say it's the unvaccinated? They're letting us down. You know, they're choosing, what did she say about the lifestyle of self-inflicted pain, and then unvaccinated are going to be hurting everyone. This is not okay. Especially when you understand and have done some research about this pandemic. Scientists have found viruses nearly 15,000 years old in 2 ice samples taken from the Tibetan Plateau in China. Most of those viruses, which survived because they have remained frozen, are unlike any viruses that have been cataloged to date. No doubt they're going to melt the icebergs and get those viruses active. Yeah, it reminds me of years ago, there was this article about, it was an outrageous number of viruses in the atmosphere. Oh, God. All right. Delta variant.
As the highly infectious Delta variant sends COVID-19 cases surging across the U.S., many hospitals are being stretched to their limits once again. At Mercy Hospital in Springfield, Missouri, staff are worried the current surge could ultimately be even worse than the COVID crisis it grappled with in 2020. Hospital Chief Eric Frederick told Reuters the majority of new cases have been unvaccinated, younger, and much sicker, and include pregnant women.
And that was very different than what we saw last year. Our utilization of ventilators and other respiratory support equipment much higher than last year. So on average last year, we'd have probably about 25 to 30% of our COVID patients would be in the ICU. About 40 to 50% of those patients would be ventilated. We've had days in the last few weeks where 100% of our ICU patients were ventilated.
Cases.
Okay, so we're back to square one, right? Nah, it's not just in Missouri. It's all over the country now. Hospitals are stretched thin because of the Delta variant. Never stops. Oh, how about this?
Andrew. 22,000 people died from seasonal flu in 2017-18, and modelling suggests that this year's season will start early, be severe, and will affect younger people than COVID, a demographic that tends to go to mass events. So have the government also been considering mandating proof of flu vaccination? And can the minister ensure that vaccination records are transportable between the NHS records of each of the home nations, which is not the case at the moment, to the huge frustration of those seeking second jabs or anticipating the need for proof of vaccination that he has confirmed today?
I'm grateful for Dr. Murison's question and also what he has done during this pandemic in vaccinating and protecting people and helping with the vaccination, the COVID vaccination program. He raises an important question around flu, which I addressed earlier. I am concerned about the flu season, which is why we are being ambitious and looking to co-administer wherever possible. The operational plan is to go early September for both COVID boost and the flu campaign. But he will also know that flu is not in the category of the COVID in terms of it is endemic. We're hoping to transition COVID towards where flu is at with an annual vaccination program. So it's a very different virus to deal with.
Oh, okay. So for now, you don't have to worry about, well, now I have to get a flu vaccine and have that pinged into my vaccine passport. It is truly insane. This is Italy now, out in force. Vaccine passports, protesting it. Sorry. It's like every video is a different volume. No V-Pass. Well, we need we really need to unite with our fellow citizens. What is this? Life and death in the age of fear. Wow. Yeah. The general mood presently being fortified by the chattering classes is one of perpetual fear. The basic stratagem includes continuously implanting the populace with extreme panic. For a fearful populace is a subservient populace. The virus of fear. The virus of fear. The fear virus. It originates with the control freak central planners. Then it's showered on the populace in rapid succession. At the conclusion of a meeting of a group of 20 finance ministers, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said, concerned that coronavirus variants could derail the global economic recovery, and called for an urgent push to deploy vaccines more rapidly around the world. Well, whether it's terrorism, Russia, climate change, China, cyber attacks, UFOs, they can pull anything out of their hat and go with it, and boom, the populace will bow down. They ruin all of our lives. 1,250 clergy members warn vaccine passports would create medical apartheid in UK. Yeah. Well, that's where all of us are going. The unvaccinated will not be able to live. They will not be able to live life. You will be literally thrown out of society. It's all coming to us. CNN Bureau Chief says Carrot is no longer working in drive to vaccinate Americans. Suggests authorities should start threats of punishment. Get everybody vaccinated. List of UK venues that could mandate vaccine passports, already expanding, of course. Medical apartheid. YouTube deleted 15 videos from President Bolsonaro, Brazil. Yeah, for COVID misinformation. Censorship is going to get really bad, and unfortunately, most of us have no money. But the billionaires, they are buying private islands. So this guy, Larry Page, who's one of the richest people in the world, he's Google co-founder Larry Page, isolated on a private island in Fiji. Well, when you see an awful lot of these people now heading for their private islands, they will be fine. And they're actually the people who have created our prison. Thank you, Larry. They will be fine. And all of us will not be. This is quite the world. But I just wanted to show you, look, pay attention to other Western countries because we're all going in the same direction. And still, I will say, Americans, a whole lot of them, I think, are going to be shocked by what happens. In maybe even just a few weeks, in, August or maybe late August, certainly the fall, things are going to, they are going to radically change. So, I'll link below, and I hope you, enjoy as much as you can at this point, because sorry to say, I know that it really kind of pisses people off that take opium, but we're finished. Ciao, guys.